Hello. For the last 3 years, Pittsburgh has been the center of a global effort to calm hate that leads to violence. Leaders from the upcoming Eradicate Hate Global Summit are here, and it is October, and that means Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're talking to a healthcare leader about what women and men need to know to stay healthy. Plus, the Tuskegee Airmen are known for their heroic efforts during World War II. Now a play is hitting the stage in Pittsburgh focused on their story. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA+ and the host of Intersections. According to recently released data from the FBI, 2023 saw an uptick in reports of hate crimes. The number of incidents, offenses, and victims all trickled up. But for the fourth year in a row, people from around the world will gather in Pittsburgh to discuss and exchange solutions to hate. The Eradicate Hate Global Summit takes place October 21st through the 23rd. And joining me to discuss the event are Brett Steele. She is the president of Eradicate Hate Global Summit, along with the organization's chief administrative officer, Chuck Molenberg. Thank you both for being with us today. We appreciate it. So, Chuck, we're going to start with you and have you tell us a little bit about how Eradicate Hate Global Summit got started and why it's so important for it to be right here in Pittsburgh.
The summit began as a response to the horrific massacre at the Tree of Life Synagogue back in 2018. As you will recall, a gunman attacked worshipers at the Tree of Life Synagogue during the Shabbat services. There were 3 congregations worshiping there. 11 people died in that shooting. Many more were seriously injured, including first responders who, you would say, ran to the fire and tried to prevent further killing. The Pittsburgh community banded together after that shooting to show its resolve, to show its shared grief with the victims and their families. The founders of the summit were determined to do something to try to reduce this sort of hate-fueled, violent act. And that led to the summit. Yeah. It was created in Pittsburgh because obviously we experienced such a horrific event here, and it's been important for the founders and everyone associated with the summit to show Pittsburgh's resolve, its resilience to make a difference in the world. There are things that can be done to reduce the incidence of these hate-motivated attacks, and we're determined to make Pittsburgh a global hub in leading that effort.
Yeah. So, Brett, we want to turn to you and have you tell us a little bit about what actually is planned for this year's summit.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. This year, we'll have over 1,000 people in attendance in person, several hundred more online, and registration is still open. Day 1 is foundational, understanding hate-fueled violence in all of its forms. What are the current trends, tactics? What is the summit doing about it? And then also looking at some of those current trends in more depth. For example, the rise in political violence that we're seeing this election season. So day 1 is foundational. Day 2 is all about success stories, looking at how we can effectively prevent future acts of hate-filled violence on college campuses, through campaigns and conversation online, through community-wide prevention initiatives, and finally, on the individual level, where you have an individual at risk of violence and help them turn their life around and find more promising outcomes.
Yeah.
Day 3 is our sector day. We will have 10 different sectors meeting simultaneously, everything from lawyers and judges to educators to tech sector to mental health professionals, all looking at the role their sector can play in preventing hate-fueled violence. And then we close with 5 new cross-sector collaborations, opportunities for sectors to work together, break down silos, and really tackle this threat in concert.
You know, I mentioned at the beginning about those FBI numbers that are showing this uptick. Do you think that this summit is able to address some of this increase that we're seeing, and how does the summit do that?
Absolutely. So the summit is positioned to reduce all forms of hate-fueled violence, including the hate crime statistics that were just released a few weeks ago. We work through a whole series of working groups. We've got 11 different working groups that will be meeting at the summit next week. And we also have 4 year-round programs. So our working groups tackle everything from hate in sport through a joint game plan we released with the United Nations. We have a toolkit for judges who are handling extremism in their courtroom and how to navigate that. We've got a toolkit for law enforcement and resources for law enforcement on how to partner with communities and play an active role in prevention. And we're also working on continuing education units for psychologists so that mental health professionals can recognize the risk in their clientele and get them the support they need. So every different sector has a role to play. And through our working groups, we work in concert with each of those sectors.
Yeah. And then Chuck, you know, I know that there's also efforts to involve students who are in local schools. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. We have what we call the Student Summit as well, taking place on one day. This year we have 29 high schools from the Pittsburgh region coming in to learn what they can do to help to make their communities and their schools safer.
Mm-hmm. And they care about this right now.
Oh, absolutely. The schools, 14 of those schools were part of the Student Summit last year. They are coming back, but last year they went back to their home communities, taught their fellow students, held events in their communities. There was such excitement among the students, and when you ask what can something be done, I really believe it starts with the youth, and the Student Summit inspires them, and we are inspired by them. We ask them for their ideas. What do you think would work in your school? And then we try to encourage them not just to think about the ideas, to put those ideas into action when they go back.
Okay. Well, we're showing everyone the information about the summit. It again is October 21st through the 23rd at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. And people can join virtually as well. They can get more information at eradicatehatesummit.org. Thank you so much, Brett and Chuck, for being with us today. We really appreciate it, and much success and progress this year's summit.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
All right. Well, coming up, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the latest in local efforts supporting early detection. Intersections. We'll be right back. Well, it's expected that this year more than 310,000 American women will be told that they have invasive breast cancer. The majority of those women will be between the ages of 60 and 69, but the complete age ranges are from 40 to 80. Now that's according to the American Cancer Association. And just a few reasons why breast cancer awareness is so important. With us today to share what we need to know is Lajuana Fuller. She is the Director of Women's Imaging at UPMC Magee Women's Hospital. Thanks so much for being with us.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. So, we hear so much about, have a mammogram, but what age? It keeps changing, the age and the frequency. Where are we right now? Is this settled now? When and where and how often we should be having mammograms?
Sure. Well, I will say it's settled with our governing agencies, and so the work that I do working in breast imaging, we're governed by the American College of Radiology, and we follow those recommendations, the Society of Breast Imaging, and it has always been 40. It has always been starting for the average risk. The person who's at average risk of developing breast cancer, you should start at 40, and then you should have it annually.
Yeah, there's also been a recent change in recent years on the topic of self-exams. That's really not recommended now. So what is it that they want women to do instead?
So have awareness. Be aware of your breasts. And so what that means is whether it's once a month or every day, look in the mirror, hold your arms up, look and see if there's a change in the size, inverted nipples, skin color changes, rash, discharge from the nipple. So all of those things are indicative of something that's not right. And so being aware of your breast is important because then you can go to your PCP, get an examination, the clinical breast examination, and more than likely they'll always order some type of imaging.
Yeah. The other thing that we're seeing or hearing more about is dense breast, because that makes it difficult to see if there is some kind of tumor. So why is it important then for the radiology report to now say that what the status of your breast tissue is?
It's critically important because the more dense the breast is, it can hide cancers. So when we're looking at imaging, cancers are white on imaging, and then density shows up as white on the imaging. So the more dense breast tissue is, the more difficult it becomes to identify if there is a cancer or something abnormal within the breast tissue. So making the awareness of the density of the breast allows the patient to know should they have additional imaging, what that additional imaging should be, and then they can have a great conversation with their physician.
Yeah. There's something that seems to not change every year, and that is the problem with the disparity when it comes to African American women. It's always higher. It's something like a 38% more likelihood to develop breast cancer, have it actually found at a later stage. That's the issue. So what can we as women do to help bring that down?
Well, number one, don't be afraid to talk about it. I think sometimes there's fear to talk about it because you're addressing the inevitable, that there could be some type of cancer. So number one, we need to talk about it. Number two, it's important for us to be a part of research. And so when we're part of research, when we talk about mortality, we know that 42% of women of color will die from breast cancer, although the incidence is less, but the mortality is greater, and we don't know why. And so to be able to determine proper treatment, you have to participate in research, critically important.
The other thing that people really, probably I should say, may not think a lot about is men and breast cancer. It does happen.
It does happen.
So is there anything different that men should be aware of or should know?
I think, and I will say this in all respect to our men, you have breast tissue. So men will refer to their chest area as pecs. You know, they muscle up and get the pectoral muscles pumped and looking good, but then there's still breast tissue there. So the incidence of breast cancer in men, sure, it's less than 1% of the general population of when we talk about breast cancer detection. So the statistics that you just gave, men are less than 1% of that. But as we know, men do get diagnosed with breast cancer. So the same thing that we tell our women, men still need to know their bodies. Look at your pecs, your chest. If something looks different, if you feel a lump, if there's discharge, men can still experience that.
So you guys have some walk-in clinics that are coming up, and those are going to be, there's one coming up on November 16th in Bethel Park and December 14th in Monroeville.
Yes.
The great thing about this is you don't need a doctor's order for that.
That's right.
And they're free.
That's right.
And if you don't have insurance, what do you do?
So thank you for saying that, because one deterrent we know that keeps people from getting a mammogram is because they don't have insurance. We do have the ability to cover for imaging, and then we also don't require a script for a screening mammogram. So we want to remove all barriers for anyone to get in for a screening mammogram.
All right. Well, thank you again, Lajuana, for being with us and sharing that very important information. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. And coming up, a powerful stage play tells the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. We're talking to the playwright next. Intersections. We'll be right back.
And that really stood out to me. And the play has received great reviews, but that review and comment from an original Tuskegee Airman will always be number one to me.
Well, it sounds amazing, and we are going to put up the information where people can see where they can go to, get more information about tickets. And again, Dr. Magee, where is it going to be? It's at the Public Theater, and which theater within there?
It's going to be at the Helen Wayne Raw Theater on the 3rd floor, and this is a partnership also with the Public Theater, and we're happy to be there for the entire year.
All right,
Yeah,
and it's through October 27th, and they can go online to newhorizontheater.org for more information. Thank you so much for being with us. And guys, thank you again also. We appreciate it. And we'll have my last word when we come back. The 43rd annual KDKA TV Turkey Fund is officially underway, and once again, we're asking for your help to make sure our neighbors in need have a warm meal this Thanksgiving. Now, here are all the ways that you can donate, and from all of us at KDKA, thank you. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.